Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I will be playing the Dwarves, and I'm going to be facing off against the Greenskins, so definitely going to be a fun matchup. And I do have this nice little valley that I actually decided to hide into, so I think it helped and hurt me, but you guys can be the judge of that. So, as far as my army composition goes, I have a front line of the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, some Dwarf Warriors. In the center line, just in case he did decide to bring Black Orcs, that's one of the issues with Greenskins, is they have a very dynamic roster. So as the Dwarfs, you don't really know what to invest in as to, because again, traditional Dwarf Warriors, these guys are going to be a little bit better against a lot of the low-tier Gobos than the long periods with great weapons would be, but if they go heavy Black Orc Biggin, it's pretty hard to deal with if you don't have any armor piercing. So I do have Grombrindle here. I have two Runesmiths, so I'm kind of going a little bit differently than my usual Rune Lord build, because honestly, if you just look at it from a competitive sense, the Rune Lord is, in my opinion, the best choice against the Greenskins. The Master Rune of Wrath and Rune can absolutely decimate those annoying units of Squigs and things like that. So, but Grombrindle is pretty good. Grombrindle has no fear, makes your entire army unbreakable. He also provides 16 leadership to all nearby units with the Crown of Zufbar, I think it's called, and then the Flash Bomb is pretty good as well. So I have the two armor-piercing units, and the rest are just essentially Dwarf Warriors supported by Runesmiths. I also decided to bring kind of a Gyrocopter Goon Squad, so I have 3 of the anti-infantry ones and then 1 anti-large one, which I was actually quite happy because he did bring the Ragnarok Queen, which is just an absolute terror to deal with. So having those guys will hopefully help out in this particular matchup. So the rest of my opponent's forces, he has 2 Squigs over here. Excuse me. And then he actually has 3 Squigs over here, so tons of Squigs. And then he has a Goblin Big Boss here, a Goblin Big Boss here. He has the Warlord's Boys. He's got some more Goblins over here. He's got a lot of Goblins, actually with a lot of Chevrons pumped into him. So their stats are, let's go ahead and take a look at their stats with all these Chevrons. So 33 melee defense, 26 melee attack, and pretty good all around. And then he has some nasty Skulkers back here. He has the Ragnarok Queen, which is really good against the Dwarves. Being able to summon those hatchlings, on Quarrelers or other units like that is pretty scary. And even, against an infantry-based army, those hatchlings are very good fodder. So he has an Orc War Boss here, a Night Goblin Shaman, and that's pretty much it. But most part, a lot of Squigs, and he's coming from so many angles. This is going to be very hard to deal with. So he has this main force here. He also has the Squig herd over here with Goblin Big Boss, and then another Squig herd over here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I immediately fly in with these Gyrocopters. I wanted to pressure a little bit and see if he had the rusty arrows firstly, because that's what I was checking for. And he didn't have them, so I decided to pull out and just go after the Squigs back here. And at the same time, I decided to just kind of use this little terrain here, and the Squigs were coming in pretty hard over here, so I do pull a group of Dwarf Warriors to form a shield wall, and they will get eaten pretty hard by these Squigs, but thankfully the Gyrocopters with Brimstone guns, or not Brimstone guns, but steam cannons, whatever you want to call them, are going to come in here and do a pretty good job. So the Squigs are charging hard down the valley. I used a Rune of Wrath and Rune on them immediately, and you can see the steam cannons are shooting in there, doing pretty good, but the Squigs still get a nice charge. Their HP damage, you can see they're taking an absolute beating, these two groups, and hopefully the perpetual fire of these steam cannons up here will be enough. So I did leave the anti-large version also on the Ragnarok Queen, who is huge. So I formed a second shield wall over here, and I kind of had run out of shield wall troops, but it would have been nice to pull a group and kind of put them over here, because this was my one weak point. And unfortunately, with the Ragnarok Queen, she's really good at just pushing through formations and just dumpstering essentially heroic units. So if my opponent is able to get their Ragnarok Queen and just sit it on Grombrindle, I'm going to be in bad shape. So you can see he does summon some hatchlings over here. So Grombrindle definitely not afraid of these guys, but still, it is something he has to deal with. So let's see if he goes ahead and clubs one of these guys. Oh, no, but he gets knocked over by the Goblin Big Bosses. So I do have to pull the Grumbling Guard back here to help out. I didn't really have any other auxiliary troops, but thankfully these Squigs got punished pretty hard over here by the Gyrocopters, and now they're kind of coming over here to work on these groups of Squigs. And they're going to come in there and do pretty good damage because Squigs have low armor, but still there's so much armor piercing and just threats coming in everywhere. And the Ragnarok Queen was able to punish my front line and get through, but I do use a Flash Bomb in retaliation, and he also uses Sneaky Stabbing. So this guy, for weapon strength, must be so high right now. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's 430, arching right through the camera, all business. But one thing that's pretty good, with Goblin Big Bosses and units like this, is you can knock heroic units out of the battle. So he did knock Grombrindle away from the rest of my forces and was able to isolate him. You can see I was definitely wishing I had brought a group of Slayers, but I've been having relatively rough results with Slayers against Greenskins lately, especially against these Goblin builds, because they just get cut to pieces essentially by the Goblin Missile troops, who are very cheap. But I still do have this massive Goon Squad back here, which is trying to fight the Ragnarok Queen, and the Long Beards with great weapons, and the Grumbling Guard here should do okay. And he does have a Goblin Big Boss back here. This one, thankfully, did get shattered off, and I think his Night Goblin Shaman is back here as well. But he does have this massive Ragnarok Queen, which is just causing him serious problems. In the front line, the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass were doing pretty good. They're supported by this Runesmith. They're putting up a good fight. These guys are essentially meant to slay Gobos. And you can see the steam cannons here on the front line are just dropping on these troops, and I had been doing some bombing runs, but the Gobos here are starting to kind of wear through me a little bit. He's got some serious numbers, and the nasty Skulkers mixed in with regular Goblins is pretty good, but you guys can see the bombing runs are actually good. They're paying their dues. Let's go ahead and take a look at the HP of these guys, and they're all pretty low. Those steam cannons, I'm telling you, are really, really good. I mean, against the goblins, they just cut them to pieces. You can see the HP damage is going pretty good in my favor, but he does have this orc war boss back here. The spider is still, it's shaken, but you know, it's not going to go anywhere. It's in pretty good shape, but the problem is Grombrindal's been getting butt kicked all freaking day. That spider is just focusing him. The other heroic units are focusing him, and he keeps cycle charging in with these goblin big bosses. So very, very well played on my opponent's part. I was definitely regretting bringing Grombrindal now and just wishing I had this Rune Lord. I could just like sit in the middle, because Grom is having a rough time right now, to say the least. But he's still putting up a good fight. I keep trying to get him into the main force, but my opponent keeps knocking him away, while the rest of my troops here are just, you know, fighting this orc war boss, and they're doing a pretty good job against him. He actually, I believe, did pop his potion, but he should be able to get out of there pretty easily. So I was able to do pretty good in the front line here. These Dwarf Warriors and Runesmiths are coming back here to help out and try and surround this this orc war boss. And over here, they did pretty well against these guys as well. So I'll be pulling them to kind of defend against these troops still. But the steam cannons are kind of fending off a lot of these gobos here, sending them running to the hills. You can see the squigs are coming back. And yeah, that does pretty darn good against goblins. And, you know, these kind of, even against big ends, or if there are black orcs, most Greenskin armies are going to bring squigs. They're kind of a staple against dwarves now, so I do switch them to focus fire. This goblin shaman here is very low armor, but doesn't seem to be doing that well. And doesn't it actually say poor accuracy in these guys' tooltip here? I think it does. Yeah, so they're not making the best contact here. And I definitely learned a lesson that I probably should have just had them melee dive. I should have just selected all these guys, have them actually dive and go into melee with this Night Goblin Shaman. I think they could have killed him quicker. So over here, I'm trying to finish off this Arachnarok Queen with the Rune of Wrath and Rune, and I couldn't really get a lot of units on it. And he actually, if I'm not mistaken, did kill Grombrindal, so that was very, very bad for me. And he still has his healthy war boss. The spider, even though it's low, is still kind of healthy considering what I have left. And these gyrocopters are all running out of ammo. And my anti-large one did run out of ammo, so very, very bad situation for me. You can see this guy just running shop on my units. So my opponent was very on top of cycle charging and doing those type of things. A very, very close game, to say the least. And thankfully, these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are still kind of holding over here. I probably should have pulled them over here and had them jump this Arachnarok Queen on the flank and just kind of ignore these nasty Skulkers here. But I figured I needed to kind of hold these guys off just so these troops over here could have a chance. These Gyrocopters, again, they're running out of ammo, so they are doing a pretty good job breaking these units as they come back in. That's something I really like with those guys. And then the Rune of Wrath and Rune spam is really good at fending off these goblins as well. So I do land the copters on this Night Goblin Shaman. I wish I had landed the other ones to finish them off. Let's go ahead and take a look at their stats here. How is their melee stats? So they have 66 weapon strength there. So that's not bad at all. So I definitely should have landed the other ones and finished them off, because my opponent was getting good value till the end of the game with this. And I just kept ignoring him. That's the thing about the Night Goblin Shaman. He actually had it hidden in the trees here, and I just didn't notice it for the longest time. So very, very well played there. The Arachnarok Queen is still steady despite all of it, and the dwarves here are putting up a pretty good fight. The war boss, I believe he's pretty low, and maybe he hasn't used his potion yet. I can't recall, but I did land the Gyrocopters in here, and they're putting up a pretty darn good fight. They're going after this Goblin Big Boss, but he did use the Potion of Toughness. I still have a lot of troops here with the Rune of Negation also supporting them, so very happy about that particular situation. You can see the Arachnarok Queen, though, just trying with everything to finish it, because it does cause, it must cause terror. It does, actually. If you guys look in the bottom left, you see the two skulls there. So it does cause terror, which is pretty bad, because a lot of my troops here are definitely, you can see those Dwarf Warriors are getting terrified. And once like a unit or two gets terrified, it kind of starts this like chain routing effect, which is pretty rough, and can definitely end the game. So this Runesmith is in here, he's still confident. This second, I think I have 2 Runesmiths left, I'm not sure. So regardless, the Gyrocopters in there fighting. The Grumbling Guard are still fighting. They're in decent shape, they're still steady, but the Orc War Boss, he's coming in here with this Goblin Big Boss, and did he just like do a body slam? I don't know if I've seen that attack animation before. But yeah, this is just kind of some chaotic battle, but this is what really was kind of broke my back here, is the Squigs came in, and I thought I had finished them all off with the Gyrocopters, but apparently I didn't, and I ran out of that ammunition to fend off those troops, and the Skulkers came back in. So just a bunch of Greenskin troops coming in, and unfortunately these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass and other troops have kind of run out of steam. They put up a great fight, but at the end of the day, that was it. That was all they could take, boys. So let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown. So, the Gyrocopters, look at that, 262 kills. I don't care if you're fighting against goblins, that's incredible. So in hindsight, I think one of the big issues with my composition in this game was Grombrindal. He did pretty much nothing for me. I mean, he tried his best, but was just getting focused. And I think if I had a Runesmith or a Rune Lord, his battle may have gone differently. I can't say for sure, because my opponent played really, really well. But having the Master Rune and then the Rune of Negation for the 44% would have been huge when he was getting focused, and I think I could have kind of centralized him a little more rather than having him have to chase things. So, yeah, Grombrindal was tough. The Runesmiths did good. The Dwarves, I mean, this guy got 2 kills. They got jumpstered by some squigs. But the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass did good, and, the infantry held the line. These guys are the real breadwinners, but, it was definitely very, very tough. The bombs did well. These guys got a lot of kills, but as far as my opponent's army go, the goblins did good. The squigs were a threat, but this darn spider was just so scary. I mean, she was just punishing and just constantly going after my heroic units. So very, very well played. And the nasty skulkers didn't do bad either. So regardless, very well played to my opponent, Slade X. I look forward to seeing you again on ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed that dwarf versus greenskin battle. Have an excellent night and take care.